Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about a new film called Crime 101. This is a film that stars a lot of famous celebrities: Chris Hemsworth, Halle Berry, Barry Keoghan, Nick Nolte, Monica Barboa. A lot of famous people are in this movie. And I believe it's based off of a short novella from Don Winslow, I believe. But in this film, we follow a character that's played by Chris Hemsworth, and he's basically like this master criminal. Like he knows how to solve any jewel heist. He knows how to get out of any situation. He's also really good about, as the police like to put it, good about not hurting anybody while also kind of making sure that the crime he's trying to commit gets basically goes through. And so basically, the police department start to figure out that basically this guy that Chris Hemsworth plays basically has a pattern. He's basically working across the coastline of California. There's like a consistent line of heists that he's doing. And so basically, over the course of this film, they try to figure out what his pattern is, what his next move might be, what his next crime might be. And then while all that is going on, we also get several different angles of this character that we're following. We follow this insurance person that's played by Halle Berry that is in desperate need of money after something goes really bad with her job. We follow a character that's basically asked to assassinate the Chris Hemsworth character and basically the journey that character goes on and some things that he faces. We also follow a character that pursues a relationship with Chris Hemsworth and how that goes down and how his life is very secretive and very mysterious and how that kind of hurts the way that he's forming friendships with people, forming just overall relationships with people, and how he's very, closed off from the world, and how he's kind of living this life in secret and not really allowing to be the person that he was trying to be in any way. And so we follow several different angles. We also follow this detective character that's played by Mark Ruffalo, with him trying to figure out Chris Hemsworth's pattern and some things going on with him and some things going on in his own personal life that's also happening at the same time that he's taking on this case. So basically, over the course of Crime 101, we figure out what exactly is going on with Chris Hemsworth. What are some things that um, feel like he's always kind of on the run and always having to perform these crimes basically to survive and to feel alive every once in a while. And then what are the other outside factors, like people that slowly figure out kind of the life that he has and how it's kind of impacting the world around him, and it's the police department trying to solve his case, or people pursuing relationships with him, or people trying to straight up trying to assassinate him and stuff like that. And so we follow all this stuff over the course of Crime 101. But overall, guys, I thought this film was okay. It's I can definitely see why this film was released in February. It doesn't really have the blockbuster feel of a summer movie. It doesn't really have the Oscar contending quality of a Best Picture winner. So you really can't put it in the fall or anything like that. So I can kind of see why it's kind of in the dead cold area of February, where it's you really don't know what to really do with it. You don't want to put it in January because it's really not that bad of a movie, but at the same time, there's nothing so spectacular about it where you can't release it as a blockbuster during the summer, and you can't really release it as an Oscar contender during the fall. So it's just one of those kind of rare kind of movies where I can kind of see why the studio, they also kind of held off the reviews on this for a while, so that's kind of a telltale sign with this movie too. So it's just one of those films where, yes, it's entertaining. Yes, there's good things about it. You won't hate yourself for watching it or anything, but there's certainly things about it that are a little disappointing that I think prevent it from being, a blockbuster or an Oscar contender, or basically trying to find another time of the year that they could have released it. So I can kind of see why this is a small little February movie. But I do want to go over some positives and negatives of some things that really work about the film, but some other things about it that I think really could have been better as well. So first and foremost for you guys, this is a very entertaining film. I was very entertained by it. I never really felt bored by it, but there is some slow burn things about it that I'm going to get into later in the review that I think hurt the film a little bit. But it is a very entertaining film. I never felt bored. I felt very invested in what the Chris Hemsworth character was doing and what some of these other characters were up to. So I felt entertained. I never really felt uh, bored during the runtime or anything like that. So if you're looking for an entertaining kind of story to watch for over 2 hours, because I think it's around a 2.5 hour film. I think it won't disappoint him from that angle at all. There's also some occasional crime underbelly stuff, like things that these criminals have to do as far as a getaway car is concerned, some things they have to plan ahead with, that the film touches on that I think is kind of interesting. They show kind of the prep process that Chris Hemsworth has to go to before performing one of these crimes. How if he is close to somebody like the Monica Barbaro character, some things that he has to kind of get settled with her before pursuing something like this. So there's some things like that that are kind of interesting. Some things that Chris Hemsworth character does too to kind of hide some of the stuff that he's been doing, trying to hide the getaway car and what he does to make sure that he has access to another car that he can get away from and stuff like that. So there's some stuff like that in regards to the crime underbelly stuff that I thought was kind of interesting. And overall, too, whenever there is an action scene that happens, when it does happen, I want to get into that in my negatives, but when we do actually have action scenes in the movie, they are very well done. They're very well choreographed. You can definitely tell they got stunt performers and all this other stuff to really make it look really good on screen. Whether it is a chase scene, whether it is something where Chris Hemsworth is trying to track down a guy that he knows is trying to harm him in a really bad way. So I thought the action scenes, when they do happen, they're pretty good for the most part. I also like the idea of seeing a scenario play out like this in regards to this criminal that's trying to get away with all this stuff, what all the individual pieces of that entail, whether it's the person witnessing it, the person pursuing a relationship with this character, the detective trying to solve the case, the person trying to assassinate him. I like how they do have almost every angle possible explored throughout the movie, even if it's not super well done. I do like how they are trying to explore many different angles of the scenario and what those characters entail, and that they have several different angles for the story to be told from those characters. And overall, too, I do like that we do get the overall like power feeling of certain characters, whether it's the Barry Keoghan character, how he's able to kind of get away with some of these crimes or get away with taking out some of these characters. I do like how there's certain power dynamics that we feel as far as how Chris Hemsworth is able to get away with certain things, and how Nick Nolte has so much power over these characters, and he always has these side jobs for characters to basically get more money and stuff like that. So I do like how you get a power dynamic feel of what these characters are up to and what they're capable of as well. But overall, guys, I thought for Crime 101, for some of my negatives, some of the payoff I thought was not very good necessarily. I thought there was very little payoff for the story we're witnessing. I also thought certain things didn't quite connect as well as they should. Like, I thought the overall, because we have so many subplots going on in the movie, by the time the film ends, I thought some of those subplots didn't feel as connected and resolved as well as I would have preferred and would have wanted. There's just a lot of open doors and open scenarios for what exactly would happen next. Obviously, I don't think they're making a sequel to this or anything like that, but I thought certain things didn't connect as well as they should. Certain things didn't pay off as well as they should. I also thought some of the characterizations in this movie were not very good. Rather than just Chris Hemsworth being the criminal guy and Mark Ruffalo being the detective guy and Halle Berry being the insurance lady and Barry Keoghan being the assassin guy. Like, there really isn't any more distinct characteristics to some of these characters rather than just a first name that we get from some of them. So I thought some of the characterization could have been better in this film too. I also thought some of the slow burn that the film was trying to do in the earlier half of the film also really didn't have much of a payoff either. It really just felt like they were doing slow burn for no reason. So I thought they could have picked up the pace as far as what the end goal was trying to be for some of the story, because it felt like the slow burn was trying to build up to something that unfortunately never really happens. So I thought that aspect of the story was a little disappointing. I really thought they really just kind of felt like slow burn for no particular reason at all. And also, too, going back to the action scenes, though they're good when they happen, unfortunately, there's really only two really big action scenes in the whole film, and they're kind of far apart from each other just to make the matter worse. So I thought it was one of those things where, because the action is so well done and it is well choreographed, I would have liked to have seen more of it because we really only get to see about two major action scenes in the whole movie. I also thought it was kind of bizarre that they got so many great cast members to sign on to the movie. Normally, when you see this many cast members sign on, there's a big director or a big writer or it's a beloved novel or there's a big bidding war that happened in between the studios. Though, as far as I can tell regarding this film in particular, I don't know about any of that stuff happening, but it just felt kind of weird that this many celebrities signed on to this movie. So I don't know if the paycheck was good or this. I think Burt Layden was the director's name. I don't know if he had a lot of potential based on some previous projects he worked on recently. It just felt a little unusual to me, specifically how the film played out, that this many celebrities signed on to the film. So I thought that was a little unusual too. And also, too, the film kind of leaves you feeling nothing about it at all. It's one of those films where literally once the credits start rolling, you really don't kind of feel or remember anything about it. You just kind of witness the story. It was there. You're entertained while watching it. By the time the film is over with, it just kind of leaves you feeling nothing. And it almost kind of leaves you with the wrong message of corrupt people get what they want. So I thought that was kind of an unusual cliffhanger note to leave the film on. It just kind of felt like if you're corrupt, you'll win, and if you're not corrupt, you'll lose in the world. So it just felt like a very unusual way to wrap up a film. It felt like it ended on such an unusual note. And the film is trying to also kind of be happy and fulfilling by the time the film's over. And for those who've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it just had a very leave you feeling with nothing kind of vibe to it. So I thought that was kind of unusual that they ended the film that way. And this is just a me thing, I know, but I really don't like it when a film really makes you question almost every time that a criminal's doing something really bad. Where is the police? Why aren't they pulling up? How come so much time has passed since this criminal's doing this terrible thing where clearly the police haven't showed up yet? So I know that's a me thing, and I know with certain films, if they have the police show up as soon as they do the way they do in reality, the film would be over with very quickly. But for me personally, it is one of those things where when so much time passes with certain kind of crimes you witness in a film, it is kind of questionable when it's like 10, 15, 20 minutes of this thing going on and not a single police officer shows up. So I thought that was kind of an unusual way to handle certain scenes in the film. But overall, guys, I'm going to give Crime 101 a 7.5 out of 10. I think there's decent things about it. I think it's an entertaining watch. It's definitely not a film I'll probably go back to anytime soon. But there is quite a few negatives along the way. Like I said, it doesn't pay off very well. Certain things don't connect as well as they should. There is some pretty bad characterization for the most part. That really is kind of a slow burn for no reason. I still don't know how many great cast members signed on the way that they did. And like I said, the film just kind of leave you feeling with nothing. So 7.5 out of 10 for me. It's an okay film. I would say rent this one if you really are curious about it. I don't think I need to send you to a theater to see this one. 7.5 out of 10 for me. It's a film where it's trying to be both drive and heat at the same time, and I don't think it quite succeeds at being either one of those. So I would say rent this one if you're really curious about it. It's a 7.5 out of 10 for me. Crime 101 is a okay film.